It's time for the Millionaires Roundtable, a daily wealth building talk show hosted by America's hip hop money guru, Lynn Richardson. On the station that can make a dollar holler. The Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Chicago. I am your host, Lynn Richardson, and I'm so excited. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We made it through Monday. I know Mondays are really kind of no good. Can they just disappear? But I guess if they disappeared, then we wouldn't like Tuesday. So here we are on Tuesday. We are in our week. We are making things happen. Yesterday, I talked a lot about real estate and why it is the primary source for wealth building for families, because this show is not about talking to millionaires, figuring out how much money they lost, why they have it and you don't. This show is about creating millionaires one family at a time. And that means you, that means you, that means you too, everybody. And I say this jokingly, but I mean it seriously. That's a millionaire in life or a millionaire in death, whichever one gonna come first. So if you're here and you're striving, I want you to start doing the things that are necessary to build a financial legacy for your family, to build a financial legacy for yourself, for your community, for your children, for your children's children. If you don't have any children, I know you have some nieces. I know you got some play cousin daughters. I know you have somebody, some godchildren, somebody that you care about on this earth beside yourself. We are approaching a zero net worth. People of color, a zero net worth. I think it's actually a negative net worth. A negative net worth would mean that the difference between everything you own minus what you owe is a negative number, and we are turning that situation around. So I'd like to start with a prayer, and I have the best production team. First of all, Melody Spann, the owner of WVON. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to share what God has given me with the world. Thank you, Todd, and everybody who's right there in the studio every day, pressing the buttons, making things happen. Kayla, who is here, she's the assistant producer. She has about 18 jobs, poor thing. I don't know what we're going to do with her. She's got the title. She's doing the music. She's got the machine. She's making it happen. She's putting together the scripts. Our executive producer, Desiree, my chief of staff, Latanya. So I'm just really excited. But they give me these scripts sometimes, and I don't know what to say to some of it. So today's prayer, I said, now, what does this have to do with real estate? We're talking about houses and mortgages and getting people some wealth. And I know that everything in the Bible is worthy. But once they explained it to me, I said, this is perfect. And it's a scripture from Romans 12:12. And it says, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer. Why do we need to be constant in prayer? Why do we need to be patient in tribulation? Why do we need to rejoice in hope? We need these things, and we need this advice, because today's millionaire topic of the day is the top 10 reasons people get denied for a mortgage and what to do about it. The top 10 reasons people get denied for a mortgage and what to do about it. I can't tell you the countless number of cases that I've seen where people have just been flat out denied for the opportunity to purchase a home because of things that either A, don't matter, B, are illegal, or C, they were done in a state of ignorance. And I mean that in the most respectful way, meaning people simply do not know. Well, first, we're going to deal with some of the illegal things. If you walk into a bank, you walk into a financial institution, and you are not treated a certain way because of your color or because of the way you're dressed, that's against the law. That's a HUD violation. I remember once early during my first days in the mortgage business, I went and I met a gentleman who wanted to purchase a home. I met him at a RE/MAX office on the north side of Chicago, and I saw a gentleman walk past, and he looked really dusty. His clothes were, unkempt. And he came into the office and he asked for me, and I stood up and I shook his hand just like any other person. I looked and said, well, okay, maybe he couldn't take a bath that day or whatever it was. I didn't know, but I still treated him with respect. Come to find out, he was a multimillionaire. He was a construction worker. Now, what if I had judged him based on his appearance? And he's a black man. So he could have been in a situation where not only was he racially profiled, but that he was socially profiled because of the way he looked, because of the color of his skin. And so, yes, today, unfortunately, in 2019, people are still getting denied for mortgages because someone doesn't think you look like you should, or you don't fit the script, or they don't believe your story. Now, let me say this to you. Believing your story is important. Because one of the things that happens during the mortgage process, if you have had some trouble where? If you've had some trouble with your credit, if you've had trouble with your work history, if you've had trouble in some area of your application that doesn't line up with what they call the standard protocol and procedure, then you have to write a letter of explanation. It's called an LOX in banking terms. So if you go into your lending institution and there's something that's happened in your situation, let's say you were late on a bill because you were sick, or let's say something happened and you missed some payments because your spouse is no longer with you and that person was responsible for paying the bill, or you got laid off your job, or you suffered a natural disaster. There are so many things. The person on the other side has to believe you. The person on the other side has to believe that your story is true. They have to believe that what occurred to you can actually happen. And I've seen cases where, because of some characteristic that you may have, I've seen cases where the person on the other side simply doesn't believe you. So my job and the job of the people on my team Lens List is to make sure that you can get around these top 10 reasons why people get denied for a mortgage. We're going to tell you what to do about it. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable on WVON 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. I want you to call me at 312-374-8130. 312-374-8130 with your questions, because I'm going to take a ton of questions today. I'm going to answer as many as I can in between my countdown. So the number one reason why people get denied for a mortgage is because the people at the bank don't know what they're doing. Let me repeat myself. The number one reason why people get denied for a mortgage is because the people at the bank do not know what they're doing. During my days of helping thousands of people get into homes and tens of thousands of people correct their financial situation, during those days, I never got a mortgage denial except one time. The one time I got the mortgage denial, the one denial that I have on record, was because the person who was applying for the mortgage did not tell me the truth. They didn't tell me all the details. So the reason I say the number one reason why people get denied for a mortgage is because people don't know what they're doing. Because if your mortgage professional knows what he or she is doing, she's never even going to submit a loan that could get denied. He or she is going to tell you what you need to do in order to get that loan approved. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable right here on WVON 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. It's 12:17 here in Chicago. Traffic and weather are up next with Annette Flournoy. We'll be right back. WVON.
More of the Millionaires Roundtable coming up on the Talk of Chicago. 1690 WVON.
Let's talk about real estate, real estate, real estate. Let's talk about real estate, real estate, real estate. Let's talk about real estate. Lynn Richardson discuss today. Any question that are on your mind, she can answer them at record time. Whenever you got it going on, you can't go wrong. Home Buyers Club on WVON. Call in and talk to Lynn Richardson. Whenever you got it going on, Home Buyers Club on WVON. Whenever you got it going on, Home Buyers Club on WVON.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. I am your host, Lynn Richardson. We are committed to creating millionaires one family at a time. We are approaching a zero net worth as a community, and so we're going to flip the script. We're going to do a 180, not a 360, because a 360 will get you right back where you started. We're going to do a 180, go in the opposite direction, and learn how to purchase assets that increase in value over time. But you can't buy your house if you get denied for the mortgage. So today's $1 million topic of the day is the top 10 reasons people get denied for a mortgage and what to do about it. Number one, the number one reason why people get denied for mortgages is because the people don't know what they're doing at the lending institutions. That's the reason why. I'm sorry to say it. I'm not trying to throw any shade to my colleagues out there, but that is the truth. There was no way anybody should ever get denied for a mortgage. The person who takes the application should know what the rules are. And if you don't follow the rules, then the person should prepare you to follow the rules. For example, if you have had late payments on your credit report, those should be explained. If your debt to income ratio is too high, someone should have done the math. They have something called the calculator. It came out a long time ago. Now, I know we have smartphones, but if you are in the business of helping people with their finances, you need to pull out your financial calculator. As a matter of fact, my assistant producer is going to pull mine out of my bag so I can show you what it looks like. She's going to pull it out of my bag now. She's going to stop typing and texting, and she's going to pull the calculator out of my bag now so I can show you what it looks like. If you do not meet the qualifications because of your income, this is what it looks like. For those of you who are watching live, this is what it looks like. So if you are in the process of a mortgage and the person continues to ask you for more information, more documentation, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But let me tell you when they need to ask for that documentation. They need to ask for as much documentation prior to the loan going to underwriting. Before the loan goes to underwriting, they need to ask for the information. If they wait until it gets to underwriting and there's something in your file that doesn't add up, for example, if your mortgage payment is 90% of your total income, it's going to get denied. If there's something about the property that doesn't add up, it's going to get denied. All of those matters should be handled and dealt with prior to the loan being submitted. Let me give you an example. I had a couple who had been denied for a mortgage 5 times, literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was lender number 6. I was loan officer number 6. It was a husband and a wife, and it was their first home. As a matter of fact, I still keep in touch with the wife to this day. And when I looked at their file, I recognized that his credit was good, her credit was not so good. His credit would allow them to get the home, but they needed her income in order to buy the home. So I took her off of the mortgage. That's number one, because her credit was going to mean denied, denied, denied. So I had to figure out a way to get him more income. So I started to ask questions. I said, do you do overtime? He said, yes. The problem was he had only been on his job for a year. And the rules for underwriting was that the overtime had to be consistent for a period of 2 years. Well, he had only been on his job for a year, but he had been in the same field for over 10 years. He had worked at one waste management company, then he went to another waste management company. So I went and researched at each waste management company. He had done overtime, a significant amount of overtime at every company. So it was standard in that industry that he would do overtime. So I wrote a letter of explanation. I said, look, this person does overtime. It is their norm. It is not the exception. So because I was able to include his overtime, and I did something else, any debt that is on your credit report that is less than 10 months to be paid. So let's say you've got a car note and you pay $500 a month, and you only owe $3,000. That means there are only 6 payments left, because 500 times 6 is 3,000. Any debt where you have 10 months or less to pay, that debt is going to be excluded from your debt ratio. Let me repeat. That debt will be excluded from your debt ratio. So this is what I told him to do. I told him to get all of his records straight. I told them to pay down the car note prior to applying for the loan, make sure they still had enough money left in savings. And when he came to me and submitted the loan application, he got approved. He got approved, and the old loan officer got so mad when he called him and told him that they got the house. When we went to the congratulation dinner, the old loan officer hung up the phone. Now, why would you get mad at the people because they did the loan? They just didn't do it with you. So we're talking about the top 10 reasons people get denied for a mortgage and what to do about it. I'm going to give you some really quick tips right after the break. It is 12:30 right here on the Talk of Chicago, WVON. We have traffic, news, and weather with Annette Flournoy. And I want you to call me at 312-374-8130 because I'm going to take a bunch of calls. I'm going to ask questions after the break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON.
About it, she knows her stuff. Hey, the girl is tough. She's gonna give it a real deal in money, credit and financial security. Buy your book today, no need to wait. Live a check to Monday. Hey, live a check to Monday. Live a check to Monday. Live a check to Monday. Are you live a check to Monday? Get your copy of Check to Monday today.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable right here on WVON 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. I am your host, Lynn Richardson, and we are creating millionaires one family at a time. And I can't think of a better way to start than to get people on the road to home ownership, to owning real estate. Let me tell you a little story about McDonald's. The McDonald's brothers were making what was at the time the best tasting hamburgers on the planet. They had sold millions and millions of hamburgers, but they were on the verge of bankruptcy. As a matter of fact, they were very close to shutting down what we know today as McDonald's. And then they met Mr. Ray Kroc, and Mr. Ray Kroc taught them how to take their franchise to another level. They started to purchase the land on which the McDonald's restaurants were owned. You see, when they purchased the land, they no longer had to pay rent. They actually became owners of that land. They paid rent to themselves. The land appreciated in value, and their locations became prime real estate. And so people wanted to have real estate close to McDonald's because people would go to McDonald's to eat. So if you wanted a department store, or if you wanted a coffee shop, or if you wanted some other kind of business, it made sense to put that business in a place that was visible. And McDonald's was definitely visible. From the big yellow arches, all of that was by design. And so once they began to own real estate, then McDonald's became the single largest holder of real estate on earth at one time. Now this moved on. Walgreens has become one of the largest owners of real estate. Walmart certainly has become one of the largest owners of real estate. So when you own real estate, when you have a piece of the land, then you get to properly position yourself for the appreciation that will take place over time. You can tap into the equity. And at some point, the goal is to be able to live rent-free. Let me repeat myself. The goal is to be able to live rent and or mortgage free. One of the things I'm most proud of is, you know, as a young person growing up and you get a job and you get a family, at some point your parents begin to age. And a few years ago, we were able to buy my mom her place. So I know that no matter how long she lives, she has some place to call her own. And I gave her, cash to make the purchase for a nice townhome. And that means Over time, if she decides she wants to sell it, she could take the cash out. If she decides she wants to move into a retirement home, she can sell it and then take the cash and fund her retirement home stay. There are so many options. So real estate definitely is the way to wealth. It's one of the ways to wealth building. There are other things that you have to do, but this is certainly one of them. And what we have to do is get past the mortgage denial. So the top 10 reasons people get denied for a mortgage: 1 is because of the people. 2, because of your debt to income ratio. Your debt to income ratio is simply your total debts divided by your total income. Let me repeat: your total debts divided by your total income. My recommendation is that your total debts be no more than 35% of your income. So if your total income is, let me give round numbers. If your total income is $10,000, then I'd like for your debt to be no more than $3,500. Let me tell you why. Because if your income is $10,000, you're only getting about $6,000 after taxes. You're not even getting the whole amount. So when the mortgage company approves you for a loan, they are approving you based on income you'll never see in your hands. I recommend that your mortgage payment be no more than 25%. As a matter of fact, I'm going to break it down. I recommend that your mortgage payment be no more than 1/2 of one check. That's if you get paid twice a month, like most people. I don't want you to have to get a check and the whole check got to go to the rent. The whole check got to go to the mortgage. Like, that's bondage. What else you going to do? How you going to eat that week? Where are you going that week? If you don't have any savings, then it gets to be a problem. Call me at 312-374-8130. 312-374-8130. We're going to take a caller. I think we have Hope on the line. Hope, are you here with me?
Yes, thank you. My question is this. Should real estate for a single woman be part of the portfolio, not just a Roth IRA, not just stocks, not just savings or money market accounts, but is real estate that important? And looking towards the future, should it also be something to hold on to in case you want a reverse mortgage, or maybe you want to buy your dream home and at some point get a reverse mortgage when you're older, have the luxury of living in your dream home mortgage-free?
Now, Hope, you sound like you have an agenda. I love it. Yes, 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 Hope. You might be my co-host today. Absolutely. Absolutely. Getting a home is an essential part of the financial portfolio of any woman, single, married, with children, no children, you got a dog, a cat, a fish, whatever it is, whoever you are, whatever your situation is. And let me say this to you. I do not believe in this new system that everybody has come up with that tells people how to live their lives. And I'm going to break it down for you a little bit, Hope. Back in the day, we would have children younger, we'd get married younger, we'd go to school, we'd kind of do things as they came along. For some reason, in the 21st century, everybody's being taught, make sure you go to school first and then get your job and then get married and then have children. By the time you do that, you're 50 years old. Like, come on now. What happens if you actually find love before you finish school? What happens if you want to have children at a younger age? I'm certainly not saying be frivolous in these decisions, but home ownership lies right up there. So, Hope, if I was speaking to a young woman who was just out of college or maybe even considering not going to college, but maybe taking up a trade, I'd say make real estate one of your first acquisitions. So, I know a lot of young people who relocate to the South and some of the more affordable states. I'd say get a piece of property, make sure that thing, you stay in it for a while, let it appreciate in value, and you've got that asset. The next thing that you mentioned is a reverse mortgage in your older years. If you're over 62 and you have to decide if you have to decide every month if you're going to pay your mortgage or you're going to get your medicine so you can live, then a reverse mortgage may be an option. And one of the things that people say, Hope, about a reverse mortgage, well, if I get a reverse mortgage, I'm not going to be able to leave the home to my heirs. Well, if your heirs are not helping you live comfortably, so you are not worried about money, then I'm really not concerned about your heirs that way. However, what you can do is you can get an insurance policy, a mortgage life insurance policy. So when you pass on, the reverse mortgage can be paid off and you can still leave the property to your heirs. So yes, Hope, for all those reasons and more, I think homeownership, real estate is certainly a part of a responsible financial portfolio. And the truth is, you cannot become wealthy with a Roth IRA or an IRA alone. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There have to be some other things that are making that asset grow quickly and some other things in your portfolio to balance if that asset doesn't perform well. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hope, for that question. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. I am your host, Lynn Richardson. We're creating millionaires one family at a time. Where are we doing that? LynnMillionaire.com. If you have trouble spelling millionaire, just go to Lynn Richardson Radio. I know. Or you can go to LynnRichardson.com and click on the radio link that you see there. So you can get to me anyway. If you can't find me, Google me. I promise you, if you Google me, you will find a way to get in touch with me. You can listen live at WVON. And I want you to not forget, do not forget our contest. MC Light has a $10,000 first-time home buyer giveaway. And you must sign up at LynnMillionaire.com. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. This is WVON. We're going to have to take a quick break because it is 12:47 on the talk of Chicago. Traffic and weather are up next with Annette Flournoy. Don't forget to call me 312-374-8130. I'll answer your questions after the break. We'll be right back. WVON.
More of the Millionaires Roundtable coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Real estate, real estate, real estate. Let's talk about real estate, real estate, real estate. Let's talk about real estate. With Lynn Richardson discuss today. Any question that are on your mind, she can answer them at every time. Whenever agent got it going on, you can't go wrong. Home Buyers Club on WVON. Call in and talk to Lynn Richardson. Whenever agent got it going on, Home Buyers Club on WVON. Whenever agent got it going on, Home Buyers Club on WVON.
Hey, welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation, my favorite radio station. Today we are talking about the top 10 reasons people get denied for a mortgage and what to do about it. I said the number one reason is because the people don't know what they're doing. Now, I'm sorry, that just is what it is, and I'm not responsible for that, but I have a solution. You can go to LynnMillionaire.com and you can be connected to competent people who know what they're doing, who will review every single aspect of your transaction to make sure it's approvable. I have a secret to tell everybody. Don't tell anybody. But we know what the rules are before the loan gets denied. Let me repeat. We know what the rules are before the loan gets denied. So the only reason a loan gets denied is because someone is not reading the rules. So when I came into the business, I used to read the underwriting guidelines. Now, it was about 4 inches thick. Now, 4 inches is a lot if it comes to reading a book. Let me give you another example. Remember the big fat dictionary that used to come with your grandmother's encyclopedia set? Yes. Or let's do it this way. Put 4 encyclopedias on top of each other. That's how big the guidelines are. But I didn't read the whole book at one time. I read the section that was applicable to you. So the number one reason is because people don't know what they're doing. Many of the lenders have you applying through a call center. That call center, those people are just responsible for taking the information. They have no idea how that information is going to impact your mortgage. Then they send it up to the underwriting team, and the underwriting team says, no, this doesn't add up. That doesn't work. This doesn't go here. And then they say, no, you've gotten denied. And sometimes it's very difficult to reverse a denial once the denial has taken place. So rule number one is to get someone who's knowledgeable. The second reason why people get denied for a mortgage, it's very, very common, debt to income ratio. Let me give you some things that will make your debt to income ratio get out of whack. Your debt to income ratio is simply your mortgage and all of your other debts added together, plus divided by your income. Your mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and homeowners association dues if you have a condo, okay? So all of that plus your other debts on your credit report, not your cell phone bill, not your light bill or your gas bill or your child care. It's just the debts that are on your credit report, including that big old student loan. Let me repeat, including that big old student loan that you have put in deferment or forbearance. But let me tell you something. If that joker is $100,000, they're going to take a certain percentage of that and they're going to add it to your debts anyway, even if you are not responsible for paying the government right now. So they're going to take all of your debts, divide that by your income, and that's your debt to income ratio. Here's one of the biggest reasons why your debt to income ratio is out of whack. Let's say you're self-employed. Self-employed means you do not get a W-2. It means you get a 1099. You're a consultant. And at the end of the year, you're going to write off all of your business expenses, which you should. You should do that. But now, if you made $100,000, but you write off your expenses and your adjusted gross income is only $30,000, guess what? The underwriter is going to say you only made $30,000. Now, I think it's not necessarily fair for a whole lot of reasons. I'll get into those on a later show. However, that's what the rule is. The other reason is because you are counting your commission. Commissions are handled differently. You are adding in your bonuses. Bonuses are calculated differently. You're adding in your overtime. Overtime is calculated differently. So if your base salary is $30,000, but you get another $10,000 in bonuses, another $15,000 in commissions, and another $10,000 in overtime, then you are not necessarily going to have a $65,000 income according to the underwriter. They're only going to take the amount of the bonuses, commissions, and overtime that they can average over a 2-year period. So there's all kind of reasons. And one of the other big reasons is homeowners association dues. If you get a townhome or a condo and they are responsible for paying your light, gas, and all these other things, you have an assessment. That assessment gets included in your debt ratio. However, if your assessment includes utilities, you can ask for a bill from the condo association, present that to the mortgage company. They can see how much of that is towards utilities. They will take the utilities out, and now your assessment will be less for underwriting purposes, and you may be able to qualify. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable right here on WVON, 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. I'm going to go to the phone lines now. Stephanie, are you here with us this afternoon?
Yes. Good afternoon, Lynn. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so happy that you're back on the show, Lynn. And I wanted to add a comment to what you said prior to the most recent commercial break in regards to mortgage products. You can indeed purchase a mortgage protection product that will allow you to accumulate money over a set amount of years. And you, as you mentioned, you could use that money to pay off property or pay off, mortgages, pay off what type of bills you have. I'm a licensed agent, and I'm licensed in about 10 different states, so I'm very familiar with that, and I'd be happy to lend my services to your organization and anyone that's listening in the audience today.
Well, Stephanie, I am excited. I am always looking for people who want to join this mission of helping us create millionaires one family at a time. It sounds like I want to know more about what you're talking about. So I would certainly say go to my website at lynnmillionaire.com. Go check out Lynn's List and reach out to my team so we can figure out how to meet you, talk to you, and figure out what you can offer to the world. And I'd love to partner with anybody who is out there who is honest, hardworking, ethical, and truly has something that can help us to build our community. So thank you so much, Stephanie. They're making us go. We're at the end of our hour. You listen to the Millionaires Roundtable right here on WVON, 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. Go follow at Lynn Millionaire. Go right now to lynnmillionaire.com. Take your life and your dreams and your legacy to the next level. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.